are fierce
Lord.
or badass, so I don't know what they're trying to pull.
Or whatever their specific definition is, which still doesn't make any sense. Okay, Spoilt Deets cast is a girl. Let me get on the Twitters. I swear. Monique said, I'm watching this episode tomorrow on my day off. You know I'll have comments. So I'm like, girl, we ain't gonna be thinking about this show then. There they are. Hey,
you mean Momo?
Yeah. Hey, hysterical. Okay. What did I say? Did I say something else?
Monique.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And putting her government name all out there. Hey, Aiden. Okay, here we go.
I gotta get on this chat here.
Yay.
Do you guys have a hashtag? Or no?
There we go.
Just BHAD podcast on Spreaker or, yeah. Not for Twitter, really. But I'm about to repost it. Or I'm about to post from Tumblr. Copy link to tweet. Oh, I was like, who is crunching munching?
I'm gonna go get a drink. I'll be right back.
Okay. You had all this time. Is your day going a little better, Amanda?
Yeah, well, because we had that 48 hours, everything done, and now we're just done.
I'm about to say, at least you're to the 48 hours. Ugh, that is...
Yeah, it was bad.
Frustrating.
Lots of screaming.
Yeah.
Lots of physical labor.
And hey Gee, hey Derek Hales, hey Nothing But Steric, Fire for a Heart, Rhyme with Cupcake, hey Gigi girl, hey Bashful, my love. Whew. We'll get the rest of y'all when you come in. Okay, so Spreaker, BHAD podcast on Spreaker, Livecast.
Did you see the new headphone picture?
Spoilt Deets. Huh?
Did you see the new headphone picture?
What happened? In LA? Or in Las Vegas? I like to call it Las Wages. He looks more and more like a serial killer. I don't approve. There's something heckling.
What?
Have you seen
that new
picture?
I was wondering why there was no response to that.
Where's this picture?
Did Colton post it?
No, he just posted a new one.
Oh, a new behind the scenes. Now, see, he looks great there. Posey. There's so
the new heck one of the
But there's one of Hecklin in Vegas, right?
Yeah, he was. We don't know when they got there, but
yeah. Well, I'm guessing he got there. Could JR and Ian have gotten with him? Because I feel like JR and Ian were picking him up from the airport. Was that before or after Jeff's party? After Leafy's party?
Before.
I know, right?
That was before. They were picking him up
so
from
then they went to
the
the party.
Australia trip.
And then he went to Vegas.
Oh.
So probably for the weekend.
That picture of JR and Tyler. Aww.
That was from the 618.
Yeah, he looks great in that picture.
Yeah, that's from when they were filming 618, not 617. Hey, Tori. I like his new beard when it's styled and when his hair is styled. I don't feel like that beard can hold itself with a baseball cap. It just it scrunches
it's the cap
his
that's
face.
throwing everything off.
Exactly.
It makes his head look weird, and it does look serial killer-y.
Yeah.
Look at gnome.
Look at
He needs to shape it up.
He needs to shape it. but he needs to leave the gray.
Yeah.
That is all y'all. Because I'm like, if you don't get some nice and easy and call it a day, or at least put some like red streaks. It needs to
Red
be.
streaks would be cool.
It needs to be.
He wouldn't do that.
The
We've
only
got that
thing-
new movie he's going to be filming, so
Yeah.
we don't know what he's...
we don't know what age he's going to be at, but I'm guessing they're
Yeah,
probably
we
going to
don't.
make him shave it.
His
might
age
have
is
people
so
like that.
amorphous. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird. Like, they can make him look really, really young or really, really old.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The power of
It was
live
said, though.
Photoshop. You said the beard needs to go. Both of them, actually. Hey, Milky. Oh, my God. So the stands were like, oh, Monica's going to be there for his birthday. And I'm like, why do you think this? I was like, this is the most fake relationship ever. And so one of the stands was like, well, he flew all the way to Australia for her birthday. I said, no, he went to a convention.
No.
And it was convenient for him to go and visit her on the way back. Because she's a layover girlfriend. And he's going, the next time we see her is going to be on whatever red carpet she gets paid for. And I was like, y'all need to quit.
He literally stopped for breakfast before his next tweet just so she could get a picture.
Just so she
And
could
that's
get a
it.
picture. And that's what makes me mad about the people who are like, oh, they're just trying to stay private. I don't see why you think it's PR. Because if they were trying to stay private, they wouldn't post.
But,
Flat
like,
out.
she posted a picture of, like, enough of him and a shirt that's really recognizable.
Yeah.
And then he had a fan picture later that day in the same shirt. It's not like it was subtle.
Mm-hmm.
Could have
Exactly.
posted a picture of just her breakfast if she was, like, that much concerned in private.
It's just so... Thank you, Racer. I'll check it out. That actually seems really great. But yeah, it's so shady. It's better than last time, so I will give him that. He learned
Well,
from
anything
his
is better than last time.
He learned from
Let's
his
be real here.
last mistake, but he didn't learn enough to just not do it. And I wish he would have learned enough to just not do it, basically.
No.
Ooh, what happened to my nail? Oh.
But at least he's stuck with someone in a different country again, so that we don't have to, like, deal with it all the time.
Oh, my
Only,
God.
like, a week here and there.
That's true. Ouch. Sorry, guys, I had to go off screen. My friggin' toenail decided to rebel against me. Ow. Okay, so anyhow, hi everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Shut up, Gee. See, this is why I don't be posting your ass. See, you get too messy. Welcome, 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 everyone. Beacon Hills After Dark, Spoilt Deets edition. I, of course, am Sticky Keys, and we have a full house tonight. Here, I'm going to post this. That beard is awful, and he looks crazy. I can't, but I always wonder about the demographics. Because who is this guy that he recognized Tyler Hecklin? And was like, I want to take a picture with him. In Vegas.
Well, I think he apparently only recognized him from Supergirl, though, because that's what he tagged it with.
Ah.
Superman, Supergirl. No Teen Wolf, just Superman.
Which makes me so happy. We're going to talk about this Lyndon quote also from, and I knew I should have listened to Matt's podcast that had Lyndon as a guest because I knew he was going to bring up Hecklin, or I knew he was going to bring up Dylan, but I was like, this is some shady boots, so we'll get to that in a second. All right, Tyler Hecklin. To my right, the voices that you have always come to know. Now, oh geez, I can't talk. That you have come to know and love. First off is Amanda, aka Scruffy Stack. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, everybody.
That beard is a mess, both of them. And to Amanda's right, he's kind of the co-host tonight because we're in some cahoots together and getting some deets, and to exploit on the Deets cast is Cole the Wolf. Say hi, Cole.
Hey, everybody.
Yay. To Cole's right, of course, is our involuntary permanent co-host, Ethan, and his new dig. Say hi, Ethan.
Hi. So this is going to be irrelevant for everybody except the people in video, and I already showed Stacy, but I can change the color of the lighting in my room.
It's amazing, and I love it so much. Someone said, how is Shelley on the countdown twice and also an honorable mention? And I think Colin was on the countdown twice. They said, dang, MTV can't even do a countdown right. I'm like, shady boots. Okay, so first, actually, let's start with the Lyndon quote because I have it up here, and someone had a dream about Dylan and Hecklin. They were blaming us. You're welcome. Let's see. Wait a minute, what? Aiden said that, oh my God, a Scott and Malia montage that Peter saw made him come and join Scott's army. Don't fall in love with a dead man? What does that mean?
Because Malia forced Peter, took his hand and shoved it into her neck so that he could see the whole, fear monster thing. And apparently they have this, scene where Peter, has the flashes of all those scenes we've had of Scott and Malia so far.
All three of them.
And so he's Scott's going to get himself killed. And then he said, don't fall in love with a dead man. And she said, too late.
Okay, wait.
So we're supposed to believe that they're in love.
First of all, are they forgetting how
Thank you.
the fingers in the neck was supposed to be a delicate procedure, or else you're going to kill them?
Right? Yeah, completely.
You can just do it to anyone. Yeah. And second
We're
of all,
supposed to believe she's in love with him.
You know,
that's
Really?
I was thinking about this because Scott so apparently Styles and Malia were the longest running couple. However, that is now being challenged by Jackson and Ethan, if we are to assume that they got together right after he left. Now, Kira and Scott were together for at least a year. Scott,
was it?
at least a year, because we had a 6-month time jump and a 3-month time jump, and they were still together. And that was before this last 3-month time jump. It was while she was still on screen. And so,
Okay.
So Malia and Scott have, Malia broke up with Styles probably about 6 months ago. Because we have the 3-month time jump from the summer, and then whatever the time jump between season 5A and 5B to 6 is. This show is stupid. But we're supposed to, and so they were like, oh, it's not rushed. Scalia isn't rushed. But I'm like, yes, it is. Or they're going to retroactive it. They're going to get rid of Scalia altogether and say that Styles Scott and Malia have loved each other since he screamed at her, Rory. Which
She was a coyote.
Yes, which I do hope that they do, because that would be amazing. Yes, Stydia shippers were pissed.
Well, they were pissed when they got that rating from Meg, and then they decided to blindly buy into Holland's Post.
And now they're pissed again. Pissed. And then evidently the song that played during the scene, the Stydia shippers thought it was going to be a Stydia song, and it ended up being a Scalia song. Scalia is going to ruin the Stydia shippers, and I am here for it. I love it. And we're going to talk more about also why in a minute. Okay, let's do the Lyndon thing real quick. Here. Dang, Milky! Hey, Bree. Oh, so glad you made it. Hey, Sparky Fox. Hey, Alyssa. And, is that, yeah, I know who that is. Nothing but Steric. I think I already shouted you up, but it is all good. Okay, so Lyndon went on. Matthew Del Negro has a passcode. Lord God, has a podcast. I'm hungry. This is why I'm hungry. Matthew Del Negro has a podcast called 10,000 No's. And the whole point of it is that about being an actor and getting all this rejection, other things that you can do in the industry to kind of make a name for yourself. And so he had Lyndon Ashby on. So Lyndon had some things to say about Dylan. Now, the nanny who sent it in to me was like, I really love their father-son dynamic. And so I said, this is why I consistently have a problem with this show. I feel like with all of Lyndon's ongoing, still to this day, comments about, well, the people who are on this show are the people who want to be on this show, knowing that Dylan isn't on this show and all the shade that entails, this comment had me feeling some type of way. Dan, I tried to get you on, boo. Okay, yes, clean those axolotls. So, it says, I remember talking to Dylan one day in his trailer, and he had just gotten a big movie, and he already had a big movie, and he was justifiably upset about something, but he wasn't necessarily expressing it in the best way. And now that I read this out loud, I know exactly what it's saying, and I hate it, and this is why. And I remember saying, everybody is looking for you to act like a prima donna right now. They are waiting. Whether they say it or not, they are waiting. Don't give them the opportunity. Just don't. And he listened to that. He really did. They expect that. They are waiting for it to happen, so don't give it to them. And, okay. So, and I was talking to someone earlier, and she was saying that it sounded like, oh, Amanda, I was talking to you. She was like, you were saying that it seemed like they were scared more about someone, quote unquote, being jealous on set more than Dylan's actual reaction.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like blaming Dylan for how other people are perceiving him, I guess. Like, I mean, if he was upset about something, like, what was he upset about?
Exactly. And don't tell me that he's justifiably upset. And then
kind of blame him for the way he was acting, supposedly.
Supposedly, right. Because I'm like, if you're not, hey, Ms. Ixie, if you're not reacting to it well, then that's something you can say. But then you don't need to bring in the whole, oh, he got a movie and then he got another big movie. And so therefore he can't complain about stuff when things go wrong because people will think he's a prima donna. What does that have to do with you? You know, and I'm like, what does that have to do with anything else in the story?
And obviously that was like, if he's saying like people are expecting you to act like that, then obviously that was like some sort of ongoing issue that someone had complained about, or like the possibility of it at least. So
I don't even think it was that. I think it was just something where he's like, ooh, I'm going to be the one who protects you. You can listen to me because I have your best interest at heart. Or it's going to be, hey, don't quit rubbing your success in Posey's face. Evidently, there was a spotting of them.
We know who had the problem.
There was an alleged spotting of them having dinner somewhere, but there are no deets. And the girl's giving no deets. So I'm like, all right, Posey Stan, I see you.
Wait, who?
So that they were both surprisingly short.
Exactly.
That was the only detail.
Posey and Dylan.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? Because we didn't hear hide or hair of him being at... Oh, we didn't hear hide or hair of him being at Dylan's birthday party. But we did hear about him with his new girlfriend because he called the Paps so blatantly. I'm like, no one cares
Bring out the camera.
Oh my God. I was just like, what are you doing?
Bad.
And I think he was like, oh, if I reference it, then I can be like, oh, Rage Against the Machine, how dare you interrupt my private life? But I'm like, no, you clearly called them. This on the podcast. All right, let's start talking spoilers. So, to kind of protect some stuff, we are going to not necessarily mention the source of these spoilers. And I know you guys hate that, and it just is what it is. But, hey, Leo. But, we're going to give you the spoilers. For me, they match up, and that's good enough for me. I know that's not good enough for some of y'all. Hey, Vagabond Fox. deal with it. Y'all will be all right. Don't forget to speak. How you doing? Oh, yikes. Someone made manips of Posey and Dylan at the New York premiere. How dare they?
I saw that. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, don't be dicks. We're having fun here, and we're going to give a bunch of spoilers. These are spoilers that go to the finale, to the very end. If you do not want to hear them, tune out now, because we are going to be talking. And you know how we can't stand this show, so don't be like, oh, I love Teen Wolf, I hope it has a great ending, because that's not going, well, you know that's not going to happen anyway, but we're especially not going to endorse that. And, yeah, it's all good. Just some stuff, that's okay. Hold on, we're actually...
Soil me sticky. That sounds like soil me sticky.
Right? On the podcast. Okay, so where do we want to start? Do we want to just start with Steric?
Yes. Let's do Steric first.
Okay, first big thing, no heckling until 6:18. No Dylan until 6:19. Maybe a tag at the end of 6:18, but I doubt it. I think it's going to be 6:19 for Dylan. Oh no! Stop working. I'll tell you after. So, okay. Now, part of this we actually kind of talked about, and part of it I totally predicted. But then other parts of it, there's a part that's going to piss me off. And we're going to talk about the reasons why. So, first of all, let's talk about the round table scene. And it's the one that was in the Entertainment Weekly magazine, and it should happen in 6:19. And Styles and Derek are...
it's either 6:19 or 6:20.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm not sure which one, though.
It's Without Us, 6:19 then?
I'm thinking at the end of 6:19 we're gonna get the Without Us scene.
Okay. And then 6:20 would be like the explanation, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Do we think when does Derek get frozen?
The finale.
Okay, that is finale. Okay. So, woo, y'all. So, when they're in the examination room and it's Derek, Lydia, Scott, Coyote, and Styles. And, so basically they're discussing how the two met up and how they got there together. So Styles starts recounting this whole tale about how he rescued Derek, which is why he's like holding Derek and he's in the FBI uniform and all this other stuff. He's like, I rescued him. But before we do that, so first of all, they were like, how did you find Derek? And he was like, oh, I found out that the FBI was hunting him and I convinced them to let me come along. And then Derek is like, I'm surprised. I was like, that's not how things work. Intern. That's not how that happens. And and then Derek says, oh, I'm surprised you weren't the one leading it. And he was like, I tried, and it was cute or whatever. So then Styles is telling the story of him saving Derek, and that's kind of how they got to be. And then Derek says, I don't really remember it that way. Now, this is where we're going to talk. Teen Wolf has an issue where they can do good, but they choose not to. And so 9/10 of the reason we get mad at them is on the principle of the fact that they actively chose not to do better. So we see the real scene of how the Styles and Derek interaction. Derek is bridal carrying Styles, And Styles is like, oh, and then he's like, they shot my toe. They shot my toe. And he is in Derek's arms. And I'm like, God dang it, that sounds adorable. And I am going to download every GIF. And I am going to manip the crap out of that scene.
If that's the real scene, and that actually happens, first of all, there's going to be so many GIFs, many fan fictions, much fan art with that scene.
Done.
It's going to be fun if that actually happens. But
the problem is...
It sounds stupid.
It sounds just stupid enough that it's exactly what they're going to do, and we know that
it sounds like fan fiction.
Exactly.
Milky's like, help.
And then, of course, I made the reference. I was like, "Ooh, did they shoot his pinky toe?" And he was like, "Oh, they shot me at my pinky toe." But I don't know if anyone is old enough to know that reference, so we're gonna leave it alone. But it just what the problem is that with all the fic, with all the art, with all the manips, with all the gifs, what you're going to have is infighting. And you're going to have the people that are like, oh, well, I told you they were planning Steric all along, and Steric is for the fans, and you guys suck, and Jeff is great and wonderful, and blah, blah, blah. Because really, that's pretty much it for Steric. To the very end.
That is, supposedly, that's the last scene, like the last real scene of their interaction. There's a scene later where they're all in a group, but that's like pretty much the big Steric interaction scene. It's not in-game. It's not going to be canon. They're not riding off in the sunset together. They're not in a flash forward with them together. That's not happening. Which is disappointing, but some people were like, oh, it might be endgame this season. This is the last season, and Jeff might do it.
Yeah.
No. I mean, he might have done it if he wanted praise, but it was over for him to do anything by this point, so...
Because I know that, but the weird thing is we really don't even get an end-game Stydia per se. And in fact, the most they get that we've heard so far, and I will say that the person who was giving us these details, they kind of skimmed through a lot of the show, which I don't blame them, but they didn't see any overt Stydia. And, we'll get actually back to the Stydia. We'll come back to that. But they did that open-ended crap. And evidently the last scene is them inviting an Omega into their pack, or is it the flash forward in the cars?
I think the Omega thing is part of the flash forward. It's going to be like an epilogue where there's like a bunch of different scenes, I guess. Mm-hmm. But the flash forward is not really a flash forward. Technically it's in the future, I guess, but it's just... The way I was told, it's Lydia, Scott, and Styles in separate cars going to one point. They get out and they just walk off somewhere together. I don't know, like another mystery or something like that. But I mean, the fact that Styles and Lydia aren't even in the same car, that's shady. And studios might not be happy with that. But
you know,
they should already know that Jeff doesn't care.
Oh, wait.
What was that?
All three of them are in separate cars, you said?
That's what I was told. They're in separate cars.
Okay.
I feel like Stydia will do the most on the internet. This would be the time for the Stydias to finally rage. And I don't think they're going to do it. But I don't know, because really at this point they have nothing to lose. So they might as well be pissed, you know? So, because, and this is why they should doubly be pissed. So far for their canon relationship, they have one kiss. And a panic attack kiss.
Which they've all romanticized to the point of, like, ugh, it's disgusting.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
They count too.
And so Scott, okay, God, this is the dumbest thing. So this whole fear monster thing, basically it makes you realize your own fear. And Scott goes to Deucalion because he's an idiot. I was actually telling someone this, and I was like, this doesn't sound believable. Then I said it out loud and started cracking up, and I was like, never mind. This sounds like something completely Scott would do. So he goes to Deucalion to get help with fighting blind. Because evidently this fear monster is kind of a Medusa thing. Like, it shows you your greatest fear, and then you turn into stone. And so, evidently Scott's greatest fear is the Nagitsinade, which is grade A shade. And that's absolutely ridiculous if it's true. I'm thinking it's going to be the bandaged one and not Dylan. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, even though the reason it was so terrifying to Scott is because it was Styles' form, but whatever. So then Scott goes to Deucalion, and instead of, I don't know, getting a blindfold or just closing his eyes, Scott decides to gouge his own eyes out.
Scott's the smart one. He's a genius, guys.
So evidently they defeat whatever foe.
Wait a minute.
I know!
Can we rewind? Because that just put me in a place.
Yeah. Evidently Scott is going to gouge his own eyes out.
So this is in the finale. So evidently Deucalion teaches them how to fight blind because you can't look at the monsters or you turn to stone. And then somewhere in between those episodes, Deucalion dies. So it's like the last thing he teaches them.
Oh,
so in the finale, Derek, Scott, and Malia go to the high school and they fight these monsters. So Scott's fighting his monster that turns into the Nagitsune. Derek's fighting his monster that turns into Jennifer. Derek gets turned into stone because he looks at the monster. And then Scott's fighting his monster and he decides he's going to scratch his eyes out so that he can go blind. So they fight, and then some other stuff happens. Like, a lot of it was skimmed through. The person that told me skimmed through a lot of it. But ultimately, at the end,
okay, wait.
Oh, okay.
I want to, because I really want to tell this part.
Okay.
So Malia is like, it's Malia, Styles, and Lydia, and then Scott. And Scott's lying on the ground, I'm guessing, and he's not healing for whatever reason. So Lydia grabs Styles' hand, turns to Malia, and says, "You have to kiss him if you want him to heal." And this, look at Ethan. I know. I said, first of all, I am getting sick and tired of Lydia telling Malia to do borderline offensive, misogynistic crap on this show as a way to save people. Call him daddy and he'll wake up. I'm just like, I hate you so much. But she's like,
call him daddy and he will buy you clothes.
Right. Oh my God. So then I guess she kisses him and then he starts to heal. So let's recap. Malia Tate runs a train on Styles Stilinski, scratches up his back. They get 15 kisses and they're together for over a year, evidently. Then she high jumps over Kira, pole vaults, and then pushes that girl into the desert, and then jumps on the dick of the true alpha to the point where only her kiss can get him to start healing.
Did they put True Love a second time on the show?
You know what would have been more compelling?
Anything.
Can anybody guess what I'm about to say?
Anything.
No, I was gonna say if it was Styles, I would have bought it.
If Styles had to kiss Scott.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
I would have bought it.
That would be awesome.
I'd have been like, okay, I'm here for this. But
I love that they had Lydia be like, "Oh, we are going to guarantee that no one else has you." She grabbed Styles' hand. It was like, kiss him. Kiss him. Gross.
And that's supposedly like the big Stydia scene. is Lydia grabbing Styles' hand. That's the big scene.
And we didn't hear about
End game. Look at them.
We didn't hear anything about a rain kiss at all. And we asked specifically
making that shit up because of that. They filmed that like one day in the rain or something, and
exactly.
They just made up this idea that there's a rain kiss and have all run with it to the point of, I don't know, delusion.
I do love how many people instantly realized, Lord God, that the whole thing about the Kanema information for Jackson being unusual and being wrong, that a Kanema isn't a Kanema isn't a thing that you can be. The only reason Tracy was a Kanema is because she was engineered. Like,
right, she's a chimera.
Yeah, for the rest of them, a Kanema is like a process. It's a deformity, basically, and you go through it to become a werewolf. And so I'm just like, so the awkward Stydia scene. Basically, Ethan gets kidnapped by someone doing something. And Jackson comes and hugs Lydia, and then Styles is like, "Oh, enough of that. That's enough." Ha ha ha. And then Ethan is like, "Yeah, gross. How dare they?" That's hilarious. Someone manipulated Dylan into that 6B shot that whatchamacallit did. Messy. I love it. Let's see. Oh, Liz, tell Liz to come on. She might not know that we're podcasting. What was I saying? Oh, and so then Jackson is like, not without my Ethan. Not without my Ethan. And then Lydia says, I knew you'd figure it out. Which.
That's so stupid.
I just hate that because they made such a big deal at the end of season 2 about her true love, and that brought him back to himself, and she knew he was gay the whole time. That's what
that doesn't make any sense. You're telling me Lydia for 2 seasons knew that Jackson was gay, but kept going after him and wanted to be with him and slept with him. Really?
But more importantly,
how upset she was when he dumped her. She was like upset.
But more importantly, they're playing up the idea that they have all had some sort of communication with each other. So you knew he was gay for 2 years and you never once asked him about it? Or, for however long is supposed to have passed. Or you knew that he was gay and dating the boyfriend of your ex who died. Are they ever going to acknowledge that he has a twin?
No, of course not.
No, of course not.
Do they ever acknowledge people who die or don't show up again?
And Charlie Carver is trying to start some nonsense with this whole Danny didn't tell him the truth and you can't have a relationship not based on truth. I'm like, you didn't tell him at all. At least you knew he was a human.
You were in a relationship with him with an ulterior motive because you wanted to,
bone the human. Which the thing about it, Danny didn't lie because if he was going into that relationship thinking that Ethan was human and then halfway through realized that he wasn't, what's he going to say? Be like, yo, you a werewolf? What are you going to say? How does that even work? So...
it was a lie by omission, but that was way less offensive than all of Ethan's lies.
Exactly. The story of a storyteller says Scott is a genius. I'm going to put 2 true alpha. How dare he? I knew they weren't going to go there with Steric. Hearing the spoilers still sort of broke my heart. I feel you, boo. I feel you, boo.
It's just sad all around. I have always thought that Steric was the make it or break it of the show, and they didn't do Steric, and it broke the show. And, it's just going to be funny because the only thing out of the entire mess of Teen Wolf, the only thing that actually made sense was Styles and Derek together. All the other relationships make no sense. All the storylines make no sense. But when you put Styles' storylines parallel with Derek's storylines, you get something that actually makes sense and would have made sense. So it's just unfortunate, but they fucked up their own show. And
what I don't understand.
What was that?
What I don't understand is how do you get that and what changes? I don't believe for a second that Jeff Davis never considered Styles and Derek. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe this whole, they never noticed them till season 2. And, that's because the fans started telling them about it. No, they knew 100% what they had in Tyler Hoechlin and Dylan O'Brien. And they knew 100% that was going to be their draw. Whether they knew it individually and they knew that they would both be popular, so let's put them together, or whether they knew it as like a possible shipping kind of romantic thing. My issue comes with, like you said, their stories line up. And it can be argued that with Styles as the human connection, he's the one that's supposed to bring Scott over. But then they're so random with the way that they wrote Scott and Derek's relationship. Like, you want to talk about antagonistic. They hated each other. And they hated each other the way girls hate each other. I think that this is I think that's the thing, is that Scott and Derek and Styles hated each other the way that guys hate each other, where they hate each other for a reason that doesn't really make sense. They understand that reason doesn't make sense, and then they're fine. They get over it. Scott and Derek hate each other the way girls hate each other, which means you have hit something in my heart that has hit me close to the chest, and I am going to make it my mission to ruin you. And I mean, and that's why Derek's transformation to the so-called evolved person where he's Scott's number one cheerleader doesn't make sense, because there's something missing in that evolution. To go from, well, maybe your family deserved to be burned in the fire, to, I'm going to try to get you to kill Peter so that, maybe you can die and then you won't be my problem anymore, to Scott's the number one wolf, yay. It's completely disjointed. It doesn't make sense. But you give us Styles and Derek, and we have the loss of a parent. We have the basically the kind of antisocial Arrested Development / grew up too fast, these kind of counterparts that end up fitting with each other. So what happens that you see that? Your audience wants it. Your cast invariably would do it. What happens that not only do you take a 180, but what we're seeing right now is the result of mind-blowing pettiness. You don't, just like you said, Derek was a game changer and it was a deal maker. So you say, I don't want that deal. But you have to recoup your losses. So you have to get people to watch. So you bait Styles and Derek. But you do it with this sneer on top of it that says, I hate you guys, but please watch my show. Like, what happened?
Because Jeff really wanted to destroy the Derek fandom. He has never been okay with the fact that the fandom operates completely separately from the show.
Okay.
He thinks that if I destroy the ship, then, he thinks that he has the power to do that. But that's not how it works. So when he couldn't destroy Derek and he saw that Derek was still thriving while his show was falling, while all the fans were ditching his show and calling him all these names, it just angered him. I really, truly think that he turned and sabotaged his own show just because he wanted to hurt fans, and it never worked. So then we get to this point where the show is canceled, and there's nothing that he can do to satisfy himself with the ending because he's already destroyed everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the fans are completely okay because we're completely disconnected from the show. Like, we're going to have a Steric scene in the finale. I don't care. I'm going to watch that Steric scene. I'm going to love the Steric scene, but I'm still going to hate your show.
Exactly.
And I'm still going to laugh at your show. I'm still going to laugh that your show is canceled, and I'm still going to laugh that you ruined your own show out of pettiness. And now you might not get jobs in this field anymore because everybody's going to see your terrible show.
And we will be vocal about it.
Yeah.
What's funny is that he tried to, like, do the whole Beyonce thing. You remember when, like, those pictures were released that she wanted taken off the internet?
Yeah.
As if that was going to happen.
Or
It's
no,
like,
that was
once it's out there, you can't stop it.
the Bette Midler thing. Yeah, like when they
Yeah.
did the house. Or no, a Barbara Streisand. When they, like...
Barbara Streisand. Yeah,
her
that's
house.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like, once it's out there, you can't stop it. Like, sorry.
And you just
like,
have to
you trying
deal
to stop
with
it is just going to make people want to see it more.
And it was so funny because, God bless him, Rave Wolf recently went on this.
Oh, that was
God
I was
bless
just
him.
about to mention A-Dark, too.
Yeah. Oh, I actually have not been on her page, and I'm not going. I refuse. I can't do it because the Scott stands have started acting a mess again, also, and especially Pew. And so I'm like, I can't deal with y'all all at the same time.
Well, the reason why they're both so messy is because they said, up until Steric doesn't happen, I'm going to assume that it's going
to happen.
And until, if it doesn't, then I'll be mad.
Right.
Then it was clear meeting.
My God.
So,
And
TikTok.
Well, it's so exactly. It's so funny because so Dylan had these comments about, oh, you know, be afraid, be afraid. He was like, oh no, that's just cheap shot. And then Ray Wolf was like, he was kidding, you guys. He was kidding, and I was like, just like he was kidding when when he told Lyndon that people weren't going to watch because it sucked. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sure he was kidding. But I'm also sure he wasn't.
It was just when he was kidding when a new episode of Teen Wolf was coming on, and he like tweeted, "Oh, Teen Wolf's coming on, but this other show is coming on at the same time. Which should I choose?"
Exactly.
Or he was like, there was another part where he was like, "Some people say that this is the greatest episode ever written of Teen Wolf. Some others may not say that." I'm like, why are you so shady? You do not like this show.
Like,
I don't understand the meta people constantly trying to...
Even down in Austin, they were like, "Oh, aren't you from Teen Wolf?" And he's like, "You know I'm not on that show anymore, right?" I'm like, "Yeah."
They tried to ask him like a spoiler or something. He was just like, "You know I'm not on the show anymore," and just like continued with the interview and wouldn't answer a question about it.
Oh my God! When they asked
nonstop that he's not being shady and he's joking, he has a history of being super shady about this show.
When they asked him about Stydia, and he literally tried to stop, drop, and roll away from the question. He was just like, "Oh."
He kind of physically get away from that. And then even when he answered, he didn't really answer. He said it's cute for the fans because they wanted it for a while.
He said it's sweet, which is the Stalia answer that he gave. And then he said it's sweet for the fans who really wanted it. And I'm just like,
well, it's fan service, so...
And so when the Stydias are like, we were not fan service, we were endgame, Dylan O'Brien, one half of Stydia, just said that it was...
And then the other half of Stydia is like, Steric's my favorite show.
Which I still love more than anything. Oh my God, that gives me so much life, so much heart. Discontented Winner, she said he also thinks if he destroyed Steric, all the Steric's fans would come crawling back to the show, which didn't happen. And what I love is that Steric fans don't come crawling back to the show. We have one designated watcher who pulls the GIFs, and that's enough. I'm like, it is perfect. Oh, man. I don't even know. It's crazy.
Did you see, like, the Stydias, I don't understand. They're just, like, it's like they think if they tell themselves something enough. Like, they were saying, we took what was that one question during the press. They were saying, oh my God, Dylan talked about Stydia. Like, he brought it up. They're like, ship captain. He didn't bring it up. He barely answered the question, and when he answered, he called it fan service.
Right.
And then there was another one I saw when I was going through the tags. He was saying, like, why aren't we getting Stydia? Does Jeff hate Stydia because it's so popular, just like what happened with Steric when it got popular? Don't try and pull that. No. If Stydia was popular, they wouldn't have 379,000 viewers. You know, like, they tried Stydia. They dated with it, and it got less than 500.
And it tanked. It absolutely tanked. You know what's...
So it's not because it's so popular.
I love it. Well, there was another Stydia where she tagged Clever TV in it. And I'm still not exactly sure why she tagged Clever TV.
That rant?
Yes. And they were like, stop trying to give Steric's... in fact, I'm going to find it. Because I was like, what happened here? What's going on?
Yeah, she went off.
I think they're still pissed about the poll where Steric won.
No. Where Steric dominated. Where Steric came out of nowhere and, it was gorgeous. That was a fun day. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
But, that was the poll that they're angry about, and I think they, couldn't deal with the fact that Stydia is not... Steric is still popular. And I thought they did a poll that was made for them. I think they think that because Stydia is canon, that it was going to kill Steric.
No, you know what, actually, and this is why I can never fully be mad at Stydia's, because I understand where they're coming from. They hate... What killed Stydia was Stylia. And that's just going to be the end-all be of all of it. Stylia killed Stydia, but Stydia will never admit it publicly. They are salty about Stylia. They are salty about all the interviews and all the press that they got, all the kisses and all the, alluded to sex scenes. Exactly. They hate that Stylia got that and Stydia didn't. The problem is, Sterics aren't mad at Stylia. You know what I mean? And we're not bitter against Stydia. We don't like the show, but we can still have our own little thing. And Stydias are always constantly on the defense because they always are going to feel like they're not good enough. Ethan, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay. So I understand where they're coming from, but I feel like Stydia's problem with Steric is rooted in Stylia. If they had actually been a real canon couple and with a real storyline, I don't think we would get half the problems that we do. But the problem is that Stylia got the canon that they wanted, and Sterics aren't fighting for them. Which again is another thing, is that they want Sterics to be on their side. And we're not, so now they're trying to turn against us because we're the pariahs. All right, that's...
Well, I mean, Stydia, though, was always, anti-Steric until Stydia came around, and then they wanted to, join forces, but now that they're canon, quote-unquote, if you want to call them that, now they're being, super nasty again because think they're better than us, and they're turning at us they're turning at us of not getting Stydia in the show when the person that they should be mad at is Jeff, the writers, the show.
Exactly.
And they're thinking if they stuck up to him that they're going to get more, but the show is in. The show is done. It's in the bag. There's nothing left that they can do to change it.
It's they consider it punching down is what they think is happening, but the problem is they're punching dead air, and we're up here shipping Steric and just getting our lives, and we're watching them as they're like, oh, and I'm like, aren't y'all getting tired yet? When you could be looking at the show.
Are you tired of being angry yet?
Exactly.
Past that.
That's I feel my kind of way about Stydia. I'm incredibly petty, so their suffering brings me joy.
Sure.
They're angry because they didn't get anything that they were hoping for.
Right.
I guess they watched the show for 7 years, and they thought that at the end they were going to have all this amazing Stydia in their corner. What they got was no Styles in 6A until the very end. They got a rushed kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And then 6B, first of all of Styles' storyline is with Derek.
Yeah.
Even though they're not on screen, it's still Styles and Derek in the background, and Lydia is just wandering around, occasionally mentioning Styles.
Right.
So it's just funny
and really
to watch
stilted.
them kind of fall.
Really stilted and terrible mentions of Styles. Talking about what would Styles do? And I'm like, what? You're talking to his dad. Why don't you call him? What are you talking about?
Like, aren't you his girlfriend?
Oh my God.
Too, they're like, he wasn't, everyone forgot him, like he forgot everyone's memories in 6A, and they talked about him more than they do in 6B. That's because he wasn't supposed to be in 6B, and they tend to just once they're not on the show.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's all your kids in Stydia.
Well, so one of the things that makes me glad that they didn't do Steric was that once the couples were in relationships, they didn't get very good scenes together. They were always dumb lovey scenes. There was never the initial dynamic that made you initially like the couple together. So I'm actually kind of glad that it didn't happen at all, because we probably would have lost that. In terms of it happening at the end, I suppose it would have avoided that. At the same time, it's just they would have fucked it up in some way, I'm sure.
Right.
But yeah, that's one of the things that happens in a lot of shows, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. It's just something that once a couple gets together, it's all about them being a couple instead of it being that initial dynamic that you enjoyed about them.
But that's the problem with that kind of excuse, because I definitely understand where it comes. It's the moonlighting kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's the moonlighting trope. You love the tension between them, and you love that chemistry between them, but as soon as they become a couple, it loses that allure. The problem is moonlighting was 30 years ago.
Well, so it's not the allure on our end, it's what they're writing.
Well,
it's
and that's
something
what I'm
particularly about putting them together makes them write the characters differently.
And this is and that's exactly what I'm talking about, is how has this much time passed and people still don't know how to overcome that? Because it's why Ross and Rachel kept having to break up to make up, to break up to make up, because the dynamic was different. And people, they wanted a Ross and Rachel endgame, but they didn't necessarily want to see it. It was as an actual relationship.
One of the shows that did that sort of really well. So Firefly has an established couple in it,
mm-hmm.
and they did a very, very good job of. Yes, they have their coupley moments, but they have this spark. They have this interaction that's really, really great. Between Wash and Zoe, it's this very it's an awesome relationship, and as much as Joss Whedon might be trash, the relationship in he did do a very good job of portraying that a functioning, healthy relationship in a show, which is you don't see that at all, ever. Yeah. With an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, because they each had their own storyline and parts, and they each had their own lives. They also were a couple. It wasn't they were a couple and they kind of did
Exactly. They were only there for each other. And that's kind of what, it's ultimately even what they're trying to do with the whole Scalia nonsense, is they're only there to be a couple to each other. They have nothing in common. The girl can barely talk. Well, I guess he can barely read. I don't know. They're both idiots. So maybe it's just that dumb love.
I just thought it's they're putting two of the worst actors on the show in so many things. It's so painful. I mean, I've watched 3 episodes this season, the ones that we've done for the podcast. It's just been horrific. It's just awful to sit through. They just put the constipated face all the time.
Yeah.
Confused, angry, scared. It's all the same face.
It's so ridiculous.
So I go back and forth on Shelley because, obviously I can't stand her guts, but, there are moments with her acting where I'm like, I didn't hate you there. Or, you said that line really good.
But we've talked about this before, Ethan, how one of the reasons, again, that I can't stand her is because she can do better and she chooses not to. Mm-hmm. And if you could consistently give me shady Teen Wolf acting, I would be here for that. If everything else you are fantastic in, and when you get to Teen Wolf you act a hot mess, give me that. I would love it. The problem is she has her shining moments. But the problem also is that she has a very specific antisocial quirk about her. And it's almost kind of like Asperger-y, where it's like just slightly on the spectrum, but it works for her. The problem is she translates that into comedy. And so she says things like, oh, Malia's so funny, or I'm really funny this season, or Shelley's so funny, she's a comedian.
And it's when really you could be looking at it through a different, more like
you are awkward
meaningful lens.
Yeah, it's like you're awkward, and you could make this so that it's a little more fleshed out, but you're not funny. And when you try to be funny, that's when you flop. Because I told you...
I think if she says she's funny enough times that people believe it.
That they're going to start believing it. Exactly.
Well, they're probably... I'm sure they're fed certain lines to say, emphasize definitely. This and, all of that. So she probably just, toes the line. She's just like, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to say. I'm not going to, because why bother? I got the show per happenstance, and I just so happened to ruin it.
Yeah. Oh, God. And then that's the other thing. I want to read the Stydia rant because it's pretty fantastic. And mostly because it's so uninformed. And, of course, if you ask them to provide any receipts, they're never going to. So it says, Stydia deserves more. This is by Stydia Deserves More at FBI Stydia. Jesus. This says August 1st. Oh, so she's been pissed for a while. Okay. Wow. Oh, was that when the show premiered? That was right after the premiere. So this is done after a 4-minute Steric scene. That wasn't even okay. This girl's tripping.
And no Stydia in that episode.
Right? Exactly. So it says, Sterics do not deserve... Oh, no, this was the I kind of missed her. I kind of told Lydia I missed her.
Yeah.
Sterics do not deserve any kind of platform. They have blemished and screwed this fandom around by spreading their disease. No more. They don't deserve acknowledgement in articles, polls, or cast interviews. They're not even a part of the Teen Wolf fandom. They're just pathetic fetishizers who think they have power by screaming the loudest and demanding that they have their way no matter how OOC and nonsensical. They don't respect Styles' canon feelings for Lydia. And try to erase any evidence that he's attracted to girls. They don't respect Styles' relationships and stomp on all of them. They don't respect Derek's very healthy relationship, all because of the superficial age gap, older man and teenage boy, male trope. Yikes. They don't even watch and quit the show when Derek left because they're not real Teen Wolf fans. They've harassed, bullied, threatened, and suicide baited our cast for having different ship opinions. Stop giving them recognition. Stop praising them and making them feel valid. Stop including them at Clever TV. And I'm like, stop including them so that you can be the only one left? Is that what's happening?
Well, they don't want to stare around. They're not going to win anything. They're not going to get, they can't beat us. So they want to get rid of us. But
even in the polls that didn't even have Steric, they still lost because there's Malik from
Malik destroyed them.
Shadowhunters, And there's a bunch of other gay pairings that are so much more powerful than Styria. They're never going to win. The only time they win is when they lose, and then they go on Twitter and like, okay, quick poll. Who's better, Styria or Styria? And then they like think they win. It's like, that doesn't mean anything.
And it's because it's all their little Styria friends. And I'm like, no one cares about this. And I love the polls where we're just like, let's just dominate this for funsies. Yeah. And it's like, okay. And then we just run all over them. That Clever TV one was amazing. And then the thing that cracks me up is they were like, they hate all of Styles' relationship. And I'm like, with the exception of Stylia, and mostly for me, we were here for Styles and Heather. We were here for, some people were and weren't here for like Stora and Sterica, but the reasons they weren't for were very specific and had nothing to do with him liking guys. We would have, like, for the most part, Sterix knew, or rather, Sterix didn't expect explicit Steric. And so we figured, okay, they're going to put him with a girl. We would have been fine if they didn't pick the most trash dog girl that they could find to try and put him with. And so,
in the grossest way. That made absolutely no sense.
In the grossest way. Did you see where Jeff was like, oh, if I had anything to change, I would have dealt more with Styles' mom in Eichen House episode. And I said, this is what you get when you try to sabotage yourself and then it backfires, which is exactly what happened.
But also to say that Sarah tried to erase his feelings for females. Is that what she said? Something like that? Because they don't. Most people rate men bi.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And most people speak him that way, and that fully erases the fact that he clearly can have feelings for females too,
Exactly.
And
there's a lot of Styrias there's a lot of homophobia with the Styrias. They don't like the fact that we wanted Styles with a guy, but we always wanted him bisexual, so he always had attraction to girls. But they see Styles being with Derek as a threat to Styles being heterosexual, which is what they want, because they want Styria.
Exactly. Yep. Well, no, what they want is they want self-insert. They want Styles Reader. And this is their way of getting Styles Reader. Ethan, were you saying something?
No. Everything that's been said, I pretty much agree with. Yeah.
It's just a mess.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the times you get those posts that are like, I'm not homophobic, but.
Oh my God! And those are the most homophobic.
They always have the gay on.
Those are the most homophobic posts ever when they start with. And they're like, I have nothing against them being gay, and I'm like, then why did you mention it? Because no one else has mentioned them being gay. And then she even says Derek's very healthy relationship, and I was like, the one he's with. Are you trying to talk about Brayden and him being in Mexico and not really knowing where she is, and she doesn't really know where he is, and just
like that wasn't even a relationship. That was a hookup.
Oh God!
That was a hookup when Derek was freaking out because he was turning human, and he wanted something to relax him. That's what it was, and she got paid for it. I'm not saying anything else, but I'm not here for that.
Yeah. There was Prince Aeschylus words or whatever, Pew. He had this post, and I had to stop reading, so I don't quite know what the resolution is. But he had this post that was like, the reason that Scott stans hate our summer theory so much is because it erases Scott from their narrative. And again, we keep telling Scott stans, if you want Scott in your fix, start creating fix with Scott. If Nixie calls herself a Styles Derek shipper or whatever she wants to call it, then write Styles Derek fix that focus on Scott. And you will have your little legion of people who will read it and I guess they'll love it if you ever actually finish anything. Then maybe they'll like it. But stop getting us to try to do your work. If we're writing a Steric fic, we're going to write it about Steric. You're lucky Scott is there at all. And the more that you keep pushing it, the more you keep pushing people away from writing Scott at all. And so I'm just like, I don't understand, again, what they want. Because, you know, they're like, oh, we just don't want you to exist, which would be fine, but I mean, we're not going to go away. So
what they want us to create their legacy. That's what they want. Mm-hmm. And it's always been that way with them, because I remember years ago when it was the Steric campaign, they were all super bitter because they were like, okay, but why does it have to be called the Steric campaign? Everybody is joining this, but why can't you call it something else for the whole Teen Wolf fandom? They've always felt disincluded from the huge ship, and they've always tried to come at us multiple times throughout the years with, you guys are the biggest force, so you should be responsible for creating fics for other ships too. And it's like, no, we put in the work for this. If you want that, you write it yourself. But they don't want to do that.
Well, no, the problem is that they do it, but they fail each time because they don't understand the connectiveness within Steric fandom. Even for the Sterics who can't stand each other, and there are several, we will drop it all for a great Steric prompt. If someone's like, I hate you and everything you stand for, but this fan art is so cute, oh my god, then we're all going to get together and we're all going to talk about it. And you know, we understand how to deal with each other on that plane. Scott stands don't have that, because Scott stands go from a source of, if we insult each other, we're insulting each other because of Steric. You know, it's like, I don't like Pac Mom Styles, and I don't think that that's real Steric. And, you know, that's what we're going to argue about. Scott stands call each other racist and call each other misogynist and, like, these really hard-hitting kind of personality flaws. And so when they try to get together, they can never, their unity never works out. The sad thing is, the most organized, they have been organized on exactly 2 occasions. One was Steric, take out your trash gate. That is the most organized they have ever been. And
they still lost.
And they still lost, and it was all in hate. And it was really, like, it just exposed how petty and bitter and terrible they are. The second time was Positivity. And they couldn't get it off the ground because half of them couldn't even abide by the own principles that they set up about being, act the way that you want Posey to see you being. And then you're going to turn around and call my mama a whore and tell me I should die because I don't like Scott McCall. You know, it's just like,
I'm just thinking, like, in my mind of that Steric, what was it? The Steric fic bang or whatever?
Yeah, the troll, Steric troll.
Like, create it yourself. Stop complaining if you want Steric so bad. And how are you going to ship Steric but then turn around and be like, Steric's abusive? Like, Styles and Derek at least like each other.
Right. They will jump up and down.
Pedophilia, but then they'll ship Steric, and you're like, really?
Yeah. First of all, Scott's canonically younger than Styles.
Right, exactly. But then all of a sudden it's fine because Derek and Scott have a brother relationship, or because Derek worships Scott. And they will, and no matter how nonsensical it is, they will go to the grave talking about, that's our canon, Derek is obsessed with Scott. And then Derek, Hecklin said that one of his most memorable scenes was the "you're going to be good at this." But when you actually hear the full story, what you find out is Hecklin internalized it because he was leaving the show and going to do more projects. And so he was saying to himself, you're going to be good at this. So I'm like, it had nothing to do with Scott, nothing to do with Posey.
No.
And yet the stands, Lord, such a mess. Positivity.
Another thing that kills me is, like, do they think, like, Steric just came out of nowhere as a huge ship? I mean, we started with no fics. People had to make them. We had to write them. We had to draw the fan art. Like, the work was put in, and that's why we're as big as we are.
Yeah.
Like, they can't just magically become a bigger ship because they want to. Like, you have to put in the work. This has been years of work that people have done.
Exactly.
But we've supported each other. We haven't just spent all our time hating on other people, which is what they spend their time doing.
Because not only have I never seen a Scott-centric zine or like art project or anything like that, but I've also never seen a Teen Wolf-centered fan-made zine. I've seen Steric zines, and I've seen Steric anthologies, and I've seen Steric arts, and I've seen AU representations and canon representations. But I'm like, Teen Wolf fans aren't... we talked about this way at the beginning of the show, where when it comes to Teen Wolf, when your story goes, all that's left is the shipping. And that's been the problem with this show for seasons at this point, really since 3B.
That's the show.
Yeah, exactly. And 3B was really an outlier, because really, if we're really being real, it fell apart in 3A. And so you kind of get to the point where it's like, people aren't interested in the mythology. Your own cast isn't interested in the mythology. Your own cast has no idea what's going on. You consistently contradict your own canon. And then you look at us for not watching the show correctly. And it's just like, no, we're not doing that.
So people in the chat have asked a couple times, is Derek stoned forever?
No, he comes out.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets...
He once the curse and the monsters are defeated, he breaks out.
Oh.
Now, do we know who Malia is fighting for her biggest fear and what it is? Because I wonder if...
I think the person fast-forwarded through that. They didn't tell me anything about Malia. They were just like, Malia kisses Scott because his eyes won't heal. But other than that, like, I didn't even get information about Theo or Liam or any Mason, Corey, any of those characters. I did find out that Parrish and Sheriff don't even have like last scenes. They just kind of have a scene that's part of the show, and then that's the last you see them. Like, even though Lyndon has been around for years, the entire show, he doesn't even get a final scene. So
they could have done something really nice with Styles and Sheriff.
Exactly.
And,
and Melissa and Chris are together. They're the end game, evidently.
Yeah. Just because people wanted Sheriff and Melissa.
Yeah.
It's such
because that's the way Jeff
Petty
works.
Hilarious. He's like petty to the point of destroying his own show willfully.
But we'll bring out all these people saying how it's a masterpiece and how it's awesome, just so he can try to get another job that he's not going to get. So it's like,
what was it? Teen Wolf's more intricate and amazing than we even know.
Oh my God, what did he say? He was like, if you don't see the genius in Teen Wolf, it's because you're not digging deep enough into the meta. And I'm like, if we have to dig deep into the meta, then it's not a good show.
Yeah, if you have to create your own headcanons and like be like, wow, these are genius when they aren't represented in the show itself.
Oh my God, exactly.
Exactly. Like, I feel like you lost the genius on that one. Like, that's not the show. That's
you. And that's what drives me crazy. The genius of the show is not the show. The genius of the show is Ravel, is Athena Dark, is these people who go this extra mile. Sarah friggin' made me wrong, who I was trying to get on tonight, but I think she had to work. But are these people that dig into the mythology and they know it, and they try to make these connections, and it's such a slap in the face to them because they are here stomping, not Sarah, but the rest of them are here stomping for your show, and you're just like, oh, whatever, it's just a silly show about werewolves. But then when we call it a silly show about werewolves, you get offended. And so I'm like, where do you want us to be on this?
Yeah, you can't have it both ways, sorry.
Exactly.
But they've been trying to play that game for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we were like, oh, like why are there all of these inconsistencies and stuff like that? And they're like, oh, it's just the prop department. Like, don't worry about it. But then they tried to go all in about Kira's jacket and all of this stuff. And we take really good. It's like you can't have it both ways. Like you either pay attention to something or you don't.
Right.
Like you either care about it or you don't. You can't I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
Some of it's just nonsense, though. Like these people still believe that there was 2 Dereks in season 4, and that in the finale, the second Derek is going to explode or something, and the real Derek's going to come back. It's like, don't explain away the fact that Derek completely went out of character with all of his Zen crap. Like, it's just bad writing.
Oh my god.
And
the one that they found in that tomb wasn't the real Derek. That's what it was. When they found him in the tomb. Oh, that's not the real Derek. That's an imposter. I remember that.
And I remember thinking that would be really cool on a show that knew how to do it. And that's the problem, is that they're coming up with amazing headcanons, but that's exactly what they are, is headcanons.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I try listening to their podcast every now and again, and it's a lot, and there's so much of it that just flies over my head, but I'm like, you guys have so much knowledge that is just being wasted on this crap show, and it just upsets the crap out of me, on their behalf.
And what are they going to do when the show ends and, none of this stuff that they've been writing about in depth for years ever comes to fruition? Because it's Teen Wolf. Nothing's going to make sense. No ends are going to get tied up. What are they going to do?
Exactly. Wait. Someone said, so they canceled the... Oh, wait. No, I mean, he's... They were still doing the premiere. Of course. What? Do we know about anything about Dylan doing promo in Austin for American Assassin?
More promo in Austin?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Why?
I'm going to wait on that. I think that might be a mess.
I mean, I think they would have done the promo.
Sticky got to catch a plane.
Yeah, I
feel like they would have
please. I'd be like, you better
promo while they were already in Austin.
Well, and that's why I was like, why would they go back? I think they meant St. Paul. I think they meant since they're in Minnesota, because they were like, oh, how's he going to make the premiere? And we still don't know what's going on with the premiere, so.
We got the pictures of him at the airport anyway, so we knew he flew out of there anyways.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so he's probably back in LA.
He's probably back in LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope he shows them in Las Vegas.
What's happening in Vegas?
What was that?
What's happening? Oh, just in general.
No,
I
Heckling's
forgot
birthday. It's going to be tomorrow in Vegas.
I forgot Hecklin was there, and I'm like, do you think he's going to spend his birthday there, or he just spent the weekend there?
I need... sorry, go.
Because
the same guy who posted the video from the casino also posted a couple IG stories today of them just driving on the highway. So they might be driving back to LA already. It might have just been a day or two in Las Vegas.
Because what if, I'm looking at Eli now, what if, because the advanced screening is tomorrow.
I just got an email for the one happening on Tuesday. So it's still happening.
It's still happening.
I just got an email for it.
Oh my god. So what, Cole's face is like, what? So what if Hecklin shows up tomorrow, and that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Y'all are going to see it on the news. It's going to be young Nebraska black girl went to LA. Can I tell y'all how I knew this was LA? There have been so many black people in these commercials. I don't know. I'm getting my life. I have never seen this many people of color in advertisements for anything. I just had to say that. I'm excited. God. So I'm going to overexcite myself, and I'm going to go to sleep. Yay, baby. Thanks, Derek. We'll see you there. Woo! So, yeah. Oh my God. I tried to ask Tyler Hecklin to take us to Disneyland, but he wasn't taking my DMs. I have a friend that has a DM chat with them, and he was like, no.
Oh my God,
like,
that's hilarious. Wait, I just need Hecklin to have a very messy birthday. And I need I need some juicy blinds.
Oh my! Did you see the one blind
aftermath
for him? And y'all know I hate blinds, but this one inspired so much.
No, wait,
The new one?
not the one with him. Not the one. Not the Posey Dylan one, right?
No, but this isn't it. This isn't him. It's, but I love that people totally thought it was, but this definitely isn't him.
What is it?
What was it?
Someone says, this cute young lead actor from a hit TV series wants to make the transition to film star. He was told that in order to do that, he had to make more of an effort when it comes to dating. He's not into having a girlfriend. I'd rather not say why. And the TV people don't care about that, but the movie people do. He was told if he wanted to get some good film roles, he had to pretend to date at least one hot girl a year. Now I'm back to thinking it's Hecklin. By the way, he couldn't just say that he's dating someone. There has to be photographic proof, and he has to post some sort of confirmation on social media to make it official. I swear to God, yo. Yeah.
Okay, that might be Heck.
Yeah.
Yikes. Now, hit TV series. It says lead actor from hit TV series.
Lead actor, hit TV series. But sometimes they get those things wrong.
Well, and I'm also thinking, like, Superman is, like, the lead role, that kind of thing, and maybe that's where they were going with it. And I can't think of who else that would be. I can't think of who else that would be. So.
I feel like I don't know enough about other people from other shows.
Right, exactly. Yeah. She's Hecklin's life is messy enough. I don't need other people's mess.
I had enough going on.
Right.
With the two I already follow.
Milky's like, I don't care. That's our boy. Exactly. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, you guys, we are going to shut down. Thank you guys so much for coming on with us so that we could get messy and fun with these spoilers. Take them with a grain of salt. Feel free to keep sending stuff into the Ask Box.
I was just about to say, if you don't hear from us for a while, it's because Jeff Davis is salty and he's suing us.
Yes, and we are laid out somewhere, like, in a box about 3 feet underground with a straw. And that is just going to be our life.
Yeah.
But it is okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I gotta start carrying a hammer with me so I can chip at the cinder blocks.
Yes! And a cell phone at all times and a satellite phone. Say good night, Ethan.
Good night, everybody.
Say good night, Cole.
Good night, guys.
Say good night, Amanda.
Night, everybody.
Night, everyone. Woo!